grandmother's hands wove the cedar and bear grass into this fine basket I hold in my hands to hold bitter roots, camas fern, tiger lily, blackberries, cranberries, gifts from the land. My great-grandma Towsley passed on her knowledge to her daughter Sally. She was only 6 then. Our tribe's own design, such as salmon gill, trail of eel, flowers for women and deer for the men. My grandmother's hands worked with bright-colored fabric, taken from dresses I wore long ago, with strong cotton thread and the finest of needles, weaving my memories in patterns she'd sew. My great-grandma Town, my great-grandma Eleanor passed on her knowledge to her daughter Susan when she was just 9. Lone Star log cabin, the sweet rose of Sharon, basket, medallion, her favorite design. Salmon gill, trail of eel, flowers and deer, bringing the lives of our ancestors near. Lone Star log cabin, basket design, weaving and quilting our stories entwine, weaving and quilting our stories entwine.
Welcome to Coffee Chat and Change the World, and our very, very special Women's History Month celebration. Tomorrow is International Women's History Day, and that is Linda Allen, who is our whole celebration today. Linda will be with us throughout the show and kind of helping us follow the path of women through history and what we can do about it. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you.
But this is, I think I know where I am. I have the definite feeling I do. We want to start by encouraging you who are here in our audience to take part in the show with, show them where Chad is. This is Gina Carey, who is our producer, without whom we could not live, and keep that in mind. And Gina, tell them about insert. Start with Gina. You're not surprised. What's your thought for the day?
My thought is my life is a party to be experienced and shared with everyone I know.
And that very good. And that causes me to piggyback with from the quote from Annie Mae: "Most life is a banquet, and most poor so-and-sos are starving to death." So that's kind of good. Linda, you're laughing. Tell us what's your thought for the day?
I didn't have a single thought for the day.
You gotta have a thought.
Except
I know. I love to do this. This is my favorite thing. I never tell the guests.
Well, I think just one of the lessons I've been learning lately is just to find what to celebrate in the midst of darkness and hard times, to hold on to gratitude and to hold on to what is good in the world and good in our lives. So that's my thought.
That's really wonderful. And Nessa McClendon is doing Amelia Earhart style work today. And Nessa, what's your thought for the day?
It's been a bit of a challenging week. And I thought about one time my dad said, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug.
And which one are you today, honey bun?
Oh, today I'm the windshield. Yesterday, I'm not sure.
Oh dear, that's great. Okay, I know Father Fred's here. Father Fred, say something inspirational.
I am so grateful for the country in which I live. I am so grateful for the blessings and the things that I have. And I think of those people in the Ukraine who have lost everything, just the clothes on their back, and sometimes not even that. And they are being harassed. So I'm thankful for what I have. That's my thought for the day.
And that is a wonderful thought. And we'll hear more from Father Fred a little bit later. And in the meantime, anybody here got good news to share? Have you got anything you'd like to share with us? Raise your pen, raise your hand, or put it in chat. Anybody? Well, oh, you know what, Gina? We should tell people how to write in chat. Some folks don't know. And Sandra, yes, your thought for the day.
I had a wonderful night last night because we got all of our family, everybody in the same house at the same time after 2.5 years.
Oh.
And I tell you, my thought is 2.5 years ago, I forced everybody to come together. We rented a house and we just partied all weekend, not knowing that that would be the last time. So don't hesitate. Follow your heart, do what you want to do now. You never know.
That's really true. It's really true. Can't afford to waste any of the precious time we've got, you know.
Well, this is Dorothy's favorite song, so of course I have to do this every time. But it's about two of the women who were particularly responsible for women getting the vote 10 years before it was passed nationally. And these two women were very different from each other. Emma Smith Devoe and May Arkwright Hutton. Now, Emma was on this side of the mountains, and she came as a hired person to work on the suffrage cause, and she was out of Tacoma and had been influenced by Susan as a young woman, quite amazing organizer, and she believed in working quietly behind the scenes. It was called the still hunt method, and doing things like holding teas for the legislators' wives. Now, May Arkwright Hutton, on the other side of the mountains, out of Spokane, was a very different kind of woman, and the song will kind of make that clear. But let's just say that when she came to lobby the legislators in Olympia, she came with a bevy of beauties and used a more frontal approach with the legislators, which was also quite effective. And she had quite a reputation. She was a big woman, big flowery hats. When cars came in, she had to have a big red one. And Emma's secretary wrote a letter to her saying she thought she was not eligible for membership in the Washington Women's Suffrage Association because of her coarse language and questionable past. So when I heard about the story of these two women, of course, a song was just ready to be written. So you're welcome, well, as long as you're muted, since we can't sing it all together, but if you want to hoop and holler in some parts, you'll see where it is. You're welcome to do that. Emma Smith Devoe was a lady of no small acclaim. Her name was synonymous with grace and gentility. Emma Smith Devoe was a leader of wit and of charm. Her style was disarmingly steeped in civility. Then there was May, May Arkwright Hutton from the east side of the mountains with a passion for a fight. May, bigger than an army, hats and furs and feathers, lordy mercy, what a sight. Emma Smith Devoe was a slow, thoughtful lady whose style was to smile as she lobbied for women's equality. Emma came from the east to Tacoma in 1906, and she organized women to fight but act womanly. Then there was May, May, woo! May Arkwright Hutton, rags to riches lady, made a fortune in the mine. May, May, wee! Loud, bold, and brassy, impudent and sassy, never one to toe the line. Emma and May, how they argued and lobbied and fought. Each thought that the other's defeat would bring victory. It still goes on today, some fly high and as bright as a kite, but the strings held by those on the earth planted solidly. Women like May, May, wee! May Arkwright Hutton, wild and strong and common as our passion to be free. Women like Emma, graceful, bright, and cultured. We all need each other to achieve equality.
Hey, I love that song. That is the most marvelous song in the history of the world. I want it on my tongue.
At least.
But you know, it was true. And of course, it's of all of us that came west and went east. It's all kinds of people. That's and good for. How long have you been writing songs like that, Linda?
50 years.
Give or take.
Years.
Which one is your favorite?
Oh my, that changes all the time. You know, like right now, my favorite is a song I wrote probably 30 years ago, but it's about, well, we'll sing it later.
We're going to have to say, you can say the name of it. This is what we call in the business a tease. You may say
right. A small vase of flowers, and it's from the perspective of a woman under the bombs as her home is being bombed. So that's one I'll sing later. So right now, that's the one I'm embracing. We're creating a video around it because it feels really important.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh gosh. If folks would like to have your music, I myself I want a copy. I know you've got some of them online. I want a copy of May and Emma to go on my computer to cheer me up, whatever, you know.
On my website, there all the lyrics to all the songs I've published. So they're all on my website, which is just lindasongs.com. And there's one section that's specific about women's history, but on the website itself, there I'm working on my 13th CD right now, so all the 12 are there, all the lyrics are there, easy to download the songs. So yeah, it's all there.
You wanted to give your the contact information. I think if we got it in chat.
I put in chat earlier what was the link to the specific women's history page, which has a lot of resources, not just me, but organizations and just a lot of resources. But the one, if you go straight to the welcome page, it's just lindasongs.com, LINDASONGS.com. And you'll find me. Or just type in Linda Allen folk singer. You'll find me pretty quickly.
Trouble is, you get a whole bunch of, but there are a whole bunch of other very strange people, and if you weren't sure who you were, where you were going,
I'm the folk singer one.
Yeah, the folk singer one. Well, and I've got to say now, we'll be back with Linda very shortly, and we're going to move on a little bit in history. I think next we're going to hear about Rosie the Riveter. I think we're not ready yet. I'll let you know, okay. But I do have to say, Gina, when I look over here at our guest list, and I'm just delighted to see everybody, do you note that not one of the men were brave enough to choose a woman they'd like to be? Do you see that?
Come on, boys, let's do it.
Because otherwise we will not feel any need to be, I never wanted to be a guy anyway. But speaking of
I'll just start renaming everybody to my own liking.
kind of fun. Why don't let's find Father Fred now. He's going to help us make sense out of all of this.
To make sense out of all of this.
Out of all of the, oh, you're in a nice, neat place today, Father.
Oh yeah, I always try to be in a good place.
Well, you certainly should. Would you like to say a few words about the Jesuits?
I could say a few words about the Jesuits, but today there are no women Jesuits.
No.
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 St. Ignatius wanted only men, and there were a couple of women who were very, very big benefactresses and very, very powerful women, and they wanted to be among the Jesuits. And so Ignatius did allow for one or two to enter. And then they started telling Ignatius how to run the Jesuits.
Wonderful.
Okay, so I want to be like Sister Marianina. She was a Holy Name Sisters, and she taught me in the first grade. And trust me, she had a big job on her hands. So God bless her. And so she's with the Lord now, but I'm sure she's got a higher place because she was patient with little Freddie.
And see how he turned out. I'll bet she's proud.
She has been helping me. Let me tell you now, she's been helping me. So
what did you learn from her? What do you think? What are some of the things you learned?
To keep my mouth shut, to not talk all the time, to be nice to my kitties around me, to sit down and to pray. She was the one who taught me the prayers that I still use. That was in the first grade that I had her. Even today at my advanced age, being up in the upper 70s, I still use the prayers that she gave us. She had us repeat I still use those prayers. So she had an influence on me then, and she is still having an influence on me now.
Would we say that it's really important to be open to the lessons other people have to teach us?
Oh, if we were not open to that, what are we trying to do in life? If we cannot be open to learning from others, if we cannot be open to sharing our gifts, sharing our values, sharing our talents, if we can't be to others what we want them to be to us, this would be a really sad world. To be that loving person that I want to be loved as. And I even said that to students yesterday on a retreat, and I said that to them Saturday night on a retreat. You be the person to others that you want them to be to yourself. And if during Lent, you do nothing else, if you don't give up candy, okay, fine. You don't give up movies, okay, fine. But if you can take on being that person to others that you want them to be to you, if you can do that, after 40 days, it's not just a matter of going back to chocolate. It's not just a matter of going back to movies. It's a matter of my heart, my soul has changed, and my family finally likes me.
No, really?
That's
good.
That was some thoughts that I gave. Those are some things very important to me.
Well, we really appreciate you that you made time for us for, we're going on 2 years now. This is unbelievable. And we really want to appreciate if you had realized you were spending that much time with us, you probably wouldn't have come, right?
As long as my bosses here at Bellarmine don't know that I'm spending all this time with you, although I tell them all the time, and I don't think they believe me when I say, no, I'm on a national Zoom meeting, and we even have some international people that come in from time to time. Is anybody here international?
Yeah, Maya Angelou lady up here is from the United Kingdom.
Oh, well, you're not that Maya Angelou.
No, right. The other one's not here anymore.
Okay, yeah.
Listen, say your name. I'm having one of those flat spots on my brain. Say your name, hon.
Fred Mayoski.
Yes, Fred Mayoski. Gina, where are you? I need you to this
Go ahead, Durga Mata. Go
I need-
ahead.
Say her name. I can't
Yes,
think of it.
my name is Durga Mata, and
Yeah.
I live in London, in England. And if I can just be cheeky, I've set up a Zoom meeting on the 20th of March for Ukraine, solidarity with Ukraine. And I would love everybody to come. I want over 100 people. We're going to be doing prayer, sound healing, de-stressing, and sharing. So I really want it to be strong and powerful. So on 20th of March, which is my mum's birthday, my mum and dad were.
Do we have the contact information, how to get into it?
Yes, I put it in as soon as I arrived, just in case anything went wrong with the computer. I'll put it in again as well.
Yeah,
It's on
please,
Facebook
please.
and also Eventbrite.
Great, yeah.
Thank you,
So,
Dorothy. Love you.
Love you too. Love you all. Don't leave. Anyway, Father Fred, thank you. And remember, if you think of anything interesting, that you'd like to add in, I nearly said, if you think of anything interesting. No, of course, you're always interesting, but tell your bosses, though, we do always speak about Bellarmine when you're here. So it's not.
I will tell them that.
Because really and truly, if they could see how good my boys came out, they would be appreciative. I mean, they said the big thing about Bellarmine, though, which is this where Father Fred is and has been for many years, the year that their dad died, my first son at that school was in, I think he was a sophomore. He was new anyway, and they found a job for him. So he was on the grounds and somebody watched him. Somebody was with him all the time, like, not hovering, but there. And I've never forgotten that it made all the difference in the world. So thank you so much, dear Father.
You're welcome.
Okay. And now Miss Amelia Earhart up here, Annessa McClendon, she has an unbelievable treat for us. Tell us about the unbelievable treat.
Well, Dorothy, so it takes a little bit of explaining. First, we were going to do a tart, right? Because in honor of Women's History Month, we were going to do a tartartan, which is a whole story about these French ladies that made an upside down tart and called it French tart, and now it's a world famous thing. So I thought, anybody can do that. But, also, I don't know, most of you know that I'm a chef down here at a camp, and we always have to provide gluten-free and vegetarian. In honor of being a chef and having zero waste, I came up with a whole way to use chickpeas. So check this out. For one simple can of garbanzo beans, we are going to make a fantastic dessert. Okay, I'm going to put the actual recipe in the chat box. It's from Alton Brown. He does his good eats on whatever. I just love the recipes and the ways that he explains things. So the actual recipe will go into the chat. But basically, what I did was I opened a can of garbanzo beans. And then I ate those garbanzo beans and I saved the juice. All right. So the juice from a garbanzo bean, you can whisk with sugar and xanthan gum. And what else did I put in there? Not cornstarch. What's the other thing I'm thinking of?
Cream of
There
tartar.
you go. Cream of tartar. Okay. So just like meringue, like egg whites to make meringue, it's almost the exact same thing. Cream of tartar, and we came up and we whipped up. Look at this.
Wow.
And stiff peaks even. Okay, and the reason why Gina, not the daughter, is chiming in is because she made this last week. And so I want to tell you one thing, Gina. I made this stuff. What is today? Monday. I made the mix on Saturday and left it sitting because I knew that I was going to do this with Dorothy. And instead of opening another can, I just re-whipped what I had from Saturday. It had started to break down. I just re-whipped it again and it came out exactly like as if I had, right? So those of you that are wondering what I'm talking about, this almost tastes like marshmallow cream now. There's so much sugar in it. And so I think Gina said she put it on top of some chocolate desserts, right? What I did was I made these little discs, these little meringue discs. Do you know the dessert pavlovas? So now we're getting back into the Women's History Month. Pavlova, and I'll put this chat link into the chat too. A pavlova is a meringue that has been baked that you top with fruit. And then if you want to make it a floating island, I think, then you put a little cream on the bottom. So you put cream on the bottom, float this meringue on top, and then put some berries on it. But this is a vegan meringue. So look, you see that? It's all crispy. Can you tell? Right? So it came out just like a crispy meringue. It's made from chickpea juice. It's 100% vegan. Like I told Gina, I discovered that you can re-whip this about 3 days later and still have the same good product. And so it's cheap. A can of chickpeas is about 39 cents.
Wow.
It's amazing. And 2 cans of chickpeas made a full volume.
What are you going to do with that now?
What's that?
What are you going to
I might just take a spoon and go home because it was a long weekend. Yeah, it tastes just like marshmallow cream. It's quite amazing how this stuff works. And in my research, what I learned is that you can use just about any bean juice to do this because of the starches and things and the proteins in the bean juices. You can substitute chickpea or any bean juice with chickpea juice. So I'm interested to try kidney beans and maybe make a pink floating island, right?
Well, couldn't you actually use that as meringue if you wanted to?
Yes, absolutely. That's absolutely. So if you had a lemon meringue pie and you wanted to be totally vegan, you could put the chickpeas on top and then torch it with your little torch and have a vegan meringue on top of it. It's quite amazing.
It really isn't. Well, what I'm thinking is it like with meringue and that kind of thing, usually you can't serve it without baking it because the eggs are unsafe.
Right, and because the eggs are raw, right? And so this is, completely.
That's an amazing idea.
It really is. And I was so impressed on how I could re-whip it into these stiff peaks after it had been sitting for 3 days and had broken down. And all I had to do was about 30 seconds and it came right back again. So, quite interesting. You might want to go, whipped garbanzo beans. That's what Bill Lewis says. It's exactly, what it is. Yeah.
Hey, Anessa, the other thing that I know, because Bill's probably thinking exactly what I was thinking. When you taste the meringue before you cook it, you can taste the garbanzo, you can taste the beans, it's coming from beans, but when it's baked, all of that goes away. And so I added a little vanilla, and I was thinking you could even put lime zest, lemon zest, little chocolate chips. And when they bake up, they are beautiful. I was so surprised, and they are delicious. I'm going to start making them for my family all the time.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's a fantastic discovery. It really is. So definitely grab a can of 39-cent garbanzo beans, whip it up for about 10 minutes and really just see what you can do with it. It's really quite incredible.
Well, it is incredible. Has anybody checked on what the nutritional value of the juice really is?
It would really depend on how much sodium is in there, but I do know that garbanzo beans themselves, one serving is about 8 grams of protein, of vegan protein. And so before I even knew about the juice, what I usually do is drain them, dry the beans off really well, and mix them in oil and spices and toast them, and have an alternative to corn nuts.
Sounds
which
really
I love corn nuts, right?
Yeah.
So so there's two uses in a 39-cent can of garbanzo beans. So, and with the way prices are going, you might have to walk to the store to get it, but 39 cents is a pretty good deal.
No, that's wonderful. Well, Anessa is always bringing us great ideas. And that was unusual, though you have outdone yourself.
Thank you, my dear.
If I were giving prizes, which I am not, but if I were, you would get one.
I don't know what I'm going to top myself with next week. It might have to be with the ostrich feathers or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, well, I can see a cake with ostrich feathers. So anyway,
All right, I will put those things in chat, Dorothy. Thank you very much.
and thank you for being with us from foggy Oregon, cold, foggy Oregon, I think.
Cold and yeah, but the sun is coming out, so soon it will be nice and beautiful.
That's what they'd like you to believe. Thank you so much, Anissa. And now let's join Linda again. Linda, I hope you didn't get rid of that guitar, because now we're going to move a little bit ahead in history, and we're going to remember Rosie the Riveter. And I have such a special place in my heart for her, because I very nearly go back that far. When the Rosies really came from our area too, because this is where we built the planes and everything. And our last Rosie died just recently, and she was, I think, 104. But of course, when the guys came home, Rosie had to go home. So there were no jobs for women anymore. And I was telling Linda that my mom was a bartender. And I was pretty embarrassed all my growing up years, because my mom was a bartender. And it took me a long time to realize that although Rosie had opened the door, it took a long time for the rest of us to get through it. So Linda, you must have some thoughts about Rosie, or you wouldn't have written the song.
That's true. And my mother was a Rosie. She worked as a truck driver and truck mechanic at Camp Lewis, which were skills I don't think she ever used later in her life. But I heard when I was doing some research with the Washington Women's Heritage Project, way back when, I ran across a quote from a woman who worked at Boeing. And she said, the day the war ended, every woman in there got it. Lead man came round and said, girls, you can hang up your torch. The boys are coming home. You can go home now. And so she said, I picked up a piece of scrap iron in 1945, and I carved my initial on it. And she said that was to be my proof for my children and my grandchildren that I really was a burner in the wartime. So that's what inspired the song. It wasn't any one woman's story, but it was sort of a compilation, and I called it Rosie the Riveter Revisited.
Will you share that with us now, please?
Yep. My strong right arm built the ship that sailed to war. My strong right arm built the ship, and what was that all for? In 1941, the war had just begun. Jim was so young, but soon was off to hold a gun. I was 19, our child was only 3, when the papers said the shipyards needed me. I moved to Bremerton in 1942. I learned to weld, I was the best one on our crew. The work was hard, the heat would burn my lungs all day, but when the paycheck came, we girls would feel okay. In 1943, in August, 8 a.m., I'd not been feeling well, my mind was filled with Jim. There was a knock, a man in uniform stood there. He said my Jim was dead. I hadn't seen him in 2 years. In 1945, the war came to an end, and on that very day, the big boss, he came in. He smiled and said, my girls, the boys are coming home. You've earned a rest, go home. Your work here now is done. Picked up a scrap of metal, and I carved my name full bore, so my child would know I was a welder in the war. No place to go, I was a widow with a child, so I waitressed and I cooked, and I married in a while. Sometimes I see that scrap with my name carved in so deep, and I recall the day the boss told me to leave, how I felt like some old rag they'd tossed aside, as useless as my patriotic pride. My strong right arm built the ship that sailed to war. My strong right arm built the ship, and what was that all for?
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's just marvelous.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
We'll be back with Linda later. I am going to pay the ultimate tribute for me and not say anything. So we're going to go now to Sandra, and she's going to show us a little craft project. Sandra, the crafty Canadian, where are
Hi,
you?
everybody.
And how do you
That's a hard act to follow.
say, how do you feel about trying to follow that? That was beautiful, I've got to say,
Very beautiful.
and very gutsy not to have any music with it. Linda, why did you do it that way? You're muted, hon.
A lot of my inspiration comes from a tradition of unaccompanied singing. England, Scotland, Ireland, the Appalachians, you know, much in this country and in other countries. And I think it's a good way to tell a story. So, yeah.
That was just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Yeah. Okay, Sandra, what you gonna do with this?
Well, I come from a long line of strong, independent women. My grandma, and I brought her picture in, she taught me how to sew. She played the piano. She was a music teacher, and she would ride her horse to her lessons. And at the last one, it was too late to ride her horse home. So she'd stay overnight and give them another lesson in the morning and then go towards home and teach the kids along the route. And this was in the Dakotas. My family was originally American, sorry, but and they moved up into Saskatchewan during the 1900s drought in the Dakotas. So we came along from New York to the Dakotas and then north to Canada. So I have many, many wonderful women around me. I've got 4 sisters. One sister is a midwife in Australia in the outback. She had to earn 5,000 hours of practicing the birthing babies. And she's also a community health nurse out in the outback. So she just started her company because she got her 5,000 hours in. And this is her symbol of the ladies. So I'm making it in the red and the yellow and the black. That's the Aboriginal flag colors of Australia.
Sandra, stop a minute and explain what you got there, because we don't quite know. These are beads, right?
These are beads, yeah, little seed beads. I'm actually wearing a shirt, a little sweater that's all made out of beads. And I do this because worry beads were always part of our lives. We always had not prayer beads, but worry beads. And they were actually invented in Greece to touch, and your heart rhythm goes with the rhythm of your hand, and your breathing follows. So it's actually a great stress relief in these days. So this is a little loom that my other sister bought me because she knows I love to do crafts. So in the middle is a little Swarovski crystal. I know it's hard to see. So that's the birth, that's the seed of the baby. And then as the woman's tummy grows, and then I'll just repeat this up and up. And she'll probably use it. I made a few. This one's the African colors of the African flag, South African flag. And the women sat and they had their own patterns, and every pattern belonged to different families. And you didn't share patterns. And they were quite secretive. Until you were old enough, you didn't get to know your grandmother's patterns until they taught you them. And then they were very held in high regard for each family. And they showed different things like weather, how many babies were born, crops, you know. So I just made this. I didn't want to copy a pattern that I'm not supposed to copy. I kind of honor that a little bit. So I make up my own patterns, and I just have a graph paper. Sorry. just have graph paper and I put my little dots in and my little colors and put them on the loom. And of course, you don't have to buy a loom. You can make one out of cardboard or wood or
Do you have
whatever.
directions for all of that?
Basically, you make
I
your pattern, you count out your beads.
Nope,
and-
nope, 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 no. They're not going to be able to do that. What about this? Let me ask you. Yes, see, it's basically for you, but for us, oh, Gina says YouTube. There would be the
Yes.
directions. Do we have any?
Yeah.
You just would look up bead looms and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're very easy to make and very easy to follow. So last night I had all my daughters and my new grandchildren that my eldest daughter hadn't met because of this silly 2 years. And I asked them, can you please just make a bead or pick a bead out of my many, many boxes of beads? And the saucy little buggers, this is what happened. One daughter made a polymer clay koala because
Oh,
my sister is here from Australia as well. So those are little just polymer clay with the little knot in it. And then you bake it in the oven. That's so cute. And then my son-in-law picked an antler button. And so I have this whole little jar that my kids picked. This one's from Egypt and the little kids like the little bells. And somehow I'm going to make it into a worry bead chain for myself. When I think of my children, I'm gonna do, you know, just think about them and feel all the beads and the textures. And I have another interesting one, Dorothy, you might get a kick out of this. In Africa, they have waist beads.
mhm.
So they would put these beads around the waist. And I don't really have a waist, but if I did, and you can see how I've grown. But it's a health measure. If you were losing weight, they could tell because this would slip down on your hips and then you would get more food. The village would supply you with more food or whatever. Or if it got bigger, they would suspect maybe you're pregnant or maybe a tumor or such. So if it went up on your waist, they'd be looking at you wondering what's going on. If it went down on your waist, the community would come together and feed you.
Sandra,
And
let
it
me
was
ask,
the,
yeah, let me ask you something that's come to me while I'm watching you. Would you pretend there were people who were interested and they got in touch with us and said, boy, I'd like to do that, but very frankly, that looks difficult. That's what I think. And believe me, there's no chance I'm going to make a loom for myself. What if we did have interested people, would you be able to do a lesson? Like we could just set up a Zoom lesson and you could teach how to do it on Zoom?
oh, absolutely.
It
Yeah,
wouldn't be like this. It would be just, that's what we would do, you know?
sure.
And I wonder, because it looks beautiful, but it's very complex for. And
It looks that way, Dorothy, but
it is.
well, for me, it's easy because I've been doing things like this all my life.
Exactly,
But
so that's why.
I do appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, Honey Bun, it has been wonderful and incomprehensible, one and the same time. Someone asks, where in Africa is that used?
All over, actually. The beads were introduced, hundreds of thousands of years ago. They're still digging beads up in archaeological sites. And originally beads were currency and things like that. But when the men started going off to work and migrant workers, the women were left at home to have those stories and to teach the children. And so it has never died down. It's now tourism a lot. They teach beading in the women's prisons here in Canada for the inmates to sell, to give them purpose, and to also, you know, revitalize their patterns. I've got a beautiful pair of ceremonial moccasins here.
They are
These-
beautiful.
This beaded pattern was introduced by the French nuns to the Métis. And this particular pair of boots is about 70 years old. It comes from Inuit, and they were made for a young lady, either a marriage or a graduation.
Well, Sandra, we're out of time for today, but this was all incomprehensible and absolutely beautiful. And so if anybody would like to, I think it'd be fun. My hands shake too much, but if anybody would like to learn, we can set up a lesson and we can learn together. And I think that would be really great. And Sandra will be back with us next time with yet another interesting and exciting Canadian craft. Thank you so much. Let's very quickly now. We've got a couple of things. Pat Schwab, our calendar girl, is going to come by with a couple, 3 dates to be sure and celebrate during March. And Gina, let's put our message from Jim. Shall I do Pat first or Jim first? Would you like a little time to get Jim set up? Or
We can do Jim right now.
let's do Jim right now. You all remember Jim Anderson, the Armillary Sphere guy? He is starting tomorrow, is going to be in a contest for DIY Heroes program out of the Make magazine and show. And he would like our votes to help him win. Here he is. He's in Kansas today at another contest.
My name is Jim Anderson, and you may have seen some of my outstanding, out of this world woodworking art. I am thrilled to announce that I'm a competitor on DIY Hero starting March the 8th. I am so excited to be entering some of my amazing works of art that you can see behind me, my Armillary Sphere and my #2 Celestial Compass. Both have won so many awards at the national level, at the regional and state levels, to include the Master Woodworking Artist of the Year, and the last 2 years at the National Veterans Creative Arts Competitions, gold medals. I'm so excited to be competing in this competition, but let me tell you, I can't do it alone, and I need your help. So click on the link, go to the website, check out my amazing artwork and some of the other things I've done, and vote for me. I would love to win. The winner has a chance to take home $25,000 and a feature in Make magazine. And let me tell you, with some of this outside of this crazy stuff that I come up with, this beautiful artwork, I think I should be in there. And I think I have a great chance of winning. Please vote for me.
Well, and if you'd like to help Jim out, and he would really appreciate it, have we got his in the link in chat, Gina?
I'll get it in there.
I love you so much. By the way, that's really cute. I just noticed what you did there. Pat, thank you. Rush down. We've got like 2 minutes, kid. And so you are, and by the way, if you are as stunned as I am by all the things that Pat comes up with, you can hear more from her. Her show with my show on Swimming Upstream radio show is live starting today. So you can find it any place you find podcasts, Audible, iTunes, all the really good places. Pat, what have you got for us for March to celebrate? Unmute, my darling.
Yep, I got it. Wait a minute, that was, okay. What I wanted to do, and it really works really well right now, because March 7th today is the beginning of Procrastination Week. Technically, this is the time you do all the things you've been procrastinating about. And in case you don't get around to finishing all of them, March 14th starts a second Procrastination Week. to help you really clean up your act. Now we jump to the 16th, and you all know March 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and he drove the snakes out of Ireland. Well, the day before, as a bit of sibling rivalry, Finland celebrates St. Euro's Day. And St. Euro was known because he was St. Patrick's cousin, and he drove the grasshoppers out of Finland and thus saved the grape harvest. So I just thought that was not quite known by a lot of people. The 20th is the birthday of Fred Rogers, who's famous for the children's show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And I'm guessing lots of folks have heard about him. He is just wonderful. And then March 7th, which is one of my totally favorite ones, is quirky country western music titles. And these are titles like, He Got Away with Women, He's Got Away with Women, and He Just Got Away with Mine. Or Get Off the Table, Mabel, the $2 is for the beer. Or I'd rather pass a kidney stone than another night with you. I mean, they get stuff. I don't know how those brains work, but I was driving to work one day and I pulled over because I had to write this one down, and it risked being late for work, but I wanted to remember it. It's, you're the tickle in my throat that makes me cough. You're the hangnail of my life, and I just can't bite you off. So that's a couple of them. Living on refried refried dreams.
It says here, you're the hangnail of my life. My own favorite is I've got tears in my ears from lying on my back in my bed while I cried over you.
Aw.
Or the worst you ever gave me was the best I ever had.
Do you actually have recordings of these?
Do I have what?
Recordings of these things?
No, I should. And I mean, they were and are legitimate country western songs. Some of them by, some pretty big names. And I don't know, they just kind of, they reflect a whole lot of different feelings. And, what is it?
Less reflection, more dates. We've got about a minute.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I wanted, there's just one more, and that was about National Blowing Bubbles Week, because that begins toward the end of March on the 20th.
Yes.
And I like the line that went with it is, you're never too old to blow bubbles. And I don't know if you found your bubble blower.
I did. I'm blowing bubbles right now. You just can't see me.
Ah, okay. So I thought that would be a good way to wrap it up.
Well, I used to always say when I was on Cairo, in fact, and I used to do these things that, there we go. If you keep bubbles in the car, when traffic grinds to a halt, and it will, instead of fussing about it, you should just roll down the windows, bring out the bubbles and blow. And that will, and simultaneously, several marvelous things will happen. A space will often open up through traffic that you can go on your way because people are none too sure about you. And I said that one time, and a lady called in and said, I was behind you yesterday. I saw the bubbles. So you never know. Anyway, Pat is with us every darn time we do this show. How do you like that for persistence? And we admire, yay, Pat. And again, you can see her on Swimming Upstream radio show. And where can we find your books, Pat?
They are all on Amazon. The ebooks are like $1.98 or something each. And you just buy them as an ebook and then you've got it.
So you go to Amazon and look at Pat Schwab.
Yeah, Pat Schwab at Amazon.com, something like that.
Okay, my dear, and we'll see you in 2 weeks when it will be National Mirth Month celebration, and Alan Klein himself will be with us. Alan Klein is the originator of Mirth Month. And now for our very special final touch today, Linda has a song she wrote years ago from the perspective of a woman under the falling bombs of her city. Linda, tell a little more about it and sing for us, please.
I think at this point I'll just sing it because I think it kind of explains itself. But if you go to my website, you'll see it's highlighted with a picture, and we're working on a video to go with it, which should be done this week, within the next few days, hopefully, and it'll be there.
Okay. That's an all piece of flower.
A small vase of flowers, the sun through the window, walls of white plaster, a small picture frame. Still I can see it, my mind's eye can see it, my harbor, my center, my family, my name. How fragile a thing is a small vase of flowers, walls of white plaster, how quickly they fall. Pictures will crumble and burn in a whisper. My home and my life can mean nothing at all. High in the heavens, a young man was watching, his eyes on a target his soul could not see, his mind on an enemy, faceless and nameless. His hands pushed the trigger, the target was me. I wander the streets of this city I once loved. I search through the rubble which once was my home. I search for my neighbors, my children, my life, but nothing is left, not a stone stands on stone. How fragile a thing is a small vase of flowers, how luscious my garden, how sweet was the fruit, but the bombs fell like rain till the screams turned to silence, and I stand here weeping, a tree without roots. A small vase of flowers, the sun through the window, walls of white plaster, a small picture frame. Still I can see it, my mind's eye can see it, my harbor, my center, my family, my name.
Oh,
That was beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And now where can people find that recording if they'd like it?
You can hear that recording right now at lindasongs.com, www.https, all that other stuff. But yeah, that's my website, and it's right on the welcome page. And you just download it for free, share it, please. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to wind this up in a hurry because the yard man's coming back. They're mowing, of course, right outside my window. That's what they do on Mondays. But anyway, wonderful to have you. Couldn't have had a better Women's Month history, anything celebration. Just so great. Linda Allen.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it was wonderful. Father Fred and Sandra and Pat and Inessa and Gina. We're pretty lucky, don't know these people. Do you realize that? So please plan to be with us. We're here every other Monday. And the next time, the 21st, it will be Mirth Month with Alan Klein. And so, not as if Gina, you're not, or Linda, you're not through. Don't put it away. Linda closes now, and we're going to say goodbye for now before the guy with the lawnmower gets back. And we're going to close with Here's to the Women.
But first,
try and unmute, dear.
okay, 1 minute before everybody goes away, remember to save the chat.
Oh, yes.
So when you brought your chat, if you clicked on chat and brought it up at the bottom, you'll see those 3 dots again. And if you click on those, you'll see save chat. There's so much great information. See about attending Durga Mata's event. Visit Linda's website. Come to subscribe to my newsletter. Check out the voting for Jim Anderson. So many good things, and share these with the people you love, the people who could also benefit. And I wish you all a beautiful rest of your month. The rest of your day. Let's start there.
That would be good right there. Thanks so much. Take us home, Linda.
History books give us historical facts of soldiers and sailors and men with their axes, but who filled their bellies, who washed their clothes, who raised up the children, who nurtured their souls. Without all the women, now where would we be? Working and caring throughout history, their hands on the plow, palm of her hand. It took more than muscle to settle this land. Women together set straight to the task, with schools and libraries, a city at last. Some came here from Mexico, Norway, Japan, to raise the good crops in this faraway land. Some came as picture brides, so little choice. Some came as slaves with no hope and no voice. And deep in the forest and out on the plains, some women were watching as new women came. Some longed for friendship and offered a hand, but politicians and soldiers soon bloodied the land. Some women grew tired of having no say, so they listened to Abigail, Emma, and May. For 50 long years they fought for the vote, so their daughters could enter the future with hope. And in hard times and good times, the women would share their songs and their stories, their loves and their fears, and their histories recorded. The song never ends in the memory of mothers and sisters and friends. Oh, without all the waters could enter the future with hope. And in hard times and good times, the women would share their songs and their stories, their loves and their fears, and their histories recorded. The song never ends in the memory of mothers and sisters and friends. Oh, without all the women, now where would we be? Working and caring throughout history. Their hands on the plow, but their stories untold. So here's to the women whose shoulders